at that stage of their life. They are not into rigorous academic pursuit at the elementary stage.
Between 6 and 9?
Between 6 and 9, which we now call the first grade, the 6th grade. Of course, there are
people who are 5, 4. You know, people start school really early these days.
Yeah, they do. Well, in our own states, we don't encourage kindergarten education in the public schools. We believe kids below the age of 6 should be with their parents. So between 5 and 6, they come in.
They shouldn't go to school?
No, they could go to school. No, they could go to school, but not in the public schools. Don't have kindergarten. You know, there are private or kindergarten and nursery schools. You know, parents could send their kids there. But by the time a child is 6, the child is ready to join the school system. And the child will come in at the age of 6 or 5 at grade 1, you know, the first grade. So between the ages of 6 and 9, the child will run through the 1st and the 4th grade. So, in fact, we've taken the trouble in our state to ensure that our children are provided with appropriate tools for each of the segments. In the first stage, we are feeding them. And we are about the only state in Nigeria that I know of that is currently giving free midday meal. We give them meal that will develop them mentally and physically in preparation for the second stage. So at the first stage, which is the elementary school, we take care of their health. We deworm them every 6 months. Then we give them food that is very rich in protein. We ensure they take fruits every day and vegetable. Then we give them things that will stimulate their brains, you know, that will make them active. We deploy gadgets they require for playing, for developing their psychomotor at that stage. So by the time they are 10, and that's the time they're in the 5th grade, which is primary 5, and primary 6. Primary 6 is the 6th grade. Most parents, realistically in Nigeria, by the time the kids are 10, they want the kids to try common entrance. So we just practicalized it. We know that at that age, the child has reached the adolescent age. We don't want to mix such kids with the kids in the elementary school. So we give them the opportunity to move and join their peers in the middle school. That is in the hitherto school we were calling the junior school, the JSS school. So for us, the middle school is an extension of the junior school by adding the kids in the 5th grade and the 6th grade. So by the time they join the kids in the hitherto schools called the junior school, which is what we did really, those were the only kids we moved. We moved kids in the 5th grade and the 6th grade to join those students in JSS 1, 2, and 3. So that is how you have the 5-year program.
Well, Your Excellency, if you allow me comment here, because I was trying to see how much we can take in now with this time we've got. You know, a lot of controversial issues coming up concerning this particular education system, this new policy in Osun State. And I want to see if we can take them one after the other, so that you can explain, being a commissioner of education in that state and also the deputy governor. The same-sex school system, which they say existed in Osun State, has been collapsed. So all the schools are now mixed sexes coming in together. And for some, especially those that were once mission schools, they say, well, it is totally against the choice of the parents and even choice for some of the students. How did you arrive at that? Did you lack schools to put everyone in it, to the extent that you had to stop specialized school that will take care of different sexes?
Yes. We don't have the luxury of the single-sex school. in the state again because we either two lack good schools. So on our own part, we're building the state-of-the-art schools. We're building 170 of them. Right now, as I'm talking to you, we're taking delivery of 38 of them by the end of this month. All the others are under construction all over the state. We're building 100 elementary schools, 50 middle schools, and 20 high schools. So we do not have the luxury of classifying some schools as girls' schools or boys' schools.
Why?
Because the schools, what's the point in keeping girls in a different school and boys in a different school when we don't even have enough schools to go around?
Yeah, but
so
it's the same
space.
Yeah, because it's not
the same space.
It's the same capacity.
It's not the same. Now, let me explain to you what we have done. Now we are building schools where we are providing all necessary tools. We are providing the state-of-the-art laboratories, you know, standard examination hall.
They understand all of that.
And all this.
Yes.
So we cannot, we don't, they are public schools, mind you. They're public schools. For the private schools.
Let's give an instance, Ma.
Yes.
For instance, you build a school. The capacity of the school is 1,000 students, you know, for instance. And you say, we want to fill the school with 1,000 girls. It will be the same 1,000 that the school can take, whether you're putting boys and girls, or you're putting girls only, or you're putting boys only, right?
No, that's the mistake you're making. It's not easy getting such group of students in all the parts of the state. You could get that maybe in the city centers. But in the villages, and I have more of villages in my state.
But this Baptist girls' school that is the controversial one seems to be in the town.
How many students are there? That's what you should ask them.
But they say they're not against getting more students. They're simply saying, leave us as an only girls' school.
We don't want girls. We don't want single-sex schools. Let me tell you, when they leave the secondary schools, are there single-sex university or tertiary institutions in Nigeria? No.
That is totally up to the parents.
It matters to us. It matters to us. Let us groom these students for what they are likely to face in future. They're not going to go to girls' university in Nigeria. There could be girls in university outside Nigeria, but in Nigeria, even the private universities, there are no private girls' universities.
To interrupt you there,
or private boys' universities.
That's a business venture.
So for us, our public schools are mixed schools.
Just a moment, Ma. You know, during the age of adolescence, some parents, for the sake of just that age, they want their children to be able to concentrate on just studies. They do not want them distracted for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, the mission schools came up like that. Even the federal government does have schools. For instance, Queen's College, King's College. You know, those were schools that were just single-sex schools. And their parents feel, well, I want my daughter or my son to go to just that school for whatever reason.
To go the same route that you have channeled now. If those students graduate from these single-sex schools, are they going to single-sex tertiary institutions?
They believe they will be mature enough to handle whatever mix.
No, they cannot.
Comes then.
It's better as a government for us to prepare our children for the next stage of their life, which is the tertiary institution after leaving the basic education. So why do we have to say, oh, our students should go to girls' school or some should go to boys' schools, when eventually, after leaving those boys' schools and girls' schools, they are not going to graduate into tertiary institutions for single sex.
But you're taking
You're
taking the choices away from the parents. That's what you're doing.
No, they still have a choice. They can go to private schools. These are public schools. And for us as a policy of government, we don't want single-sex school.
You don't also want mission schools?
We don't have problem with that. The mission schools, let me tell you, there are no faith schools in Nigeria. In 1975, that's 37 years ago, the federal government of Nigeria took over all schools. But what had happened is that most government